some other, or is there no such organisation which is comparable to the British Board of Deputies? And my second question is on charitable giving. I have the feeling, but I don't have any statistics, that Jewish charitable giving is per capita much higher than any other community in the States. Is there any reflected glory on the Jewish community because of this, assuming what I say is correct?
I didn't hear. Was there any reflected
glory on the Jewish community because Jews, I presume, do give
That's a harder one to measure, but I will give you a. First of all, there is no group in American Jewish life that can say it speaks for American Jews. And that's one of the unique characteristics of the American Jewish experience. It's part of the notion of voluntarism in America, of individualism, of competition. It's much of what Dan Elazar would write about in terms of the federalist system, because it was highly was structured in a way that power was decentralized in many ways and never really centralized. So the Board of Jewish Deputies, which lasted less than 5 years basically, and never really played a significant role outside of what it did on the, I think, on the Damascus affair and Mutara affair of two case studies. It really had no primary significance. And so as a result, there are many. There have, I should say, historically been many efforts to create a single voice of American Jewry. Even at the time, and tragically at the time, in the 1940s, could the Jewish community mobilize itself to speak with one voice around the issues of both rescue and the question of creating a Jewish state. And even there, as you may well know, the community struggled with the notion of constructing a sort of singular voice. In many ways, the Federalists were the closest thing to creating, at least on the communal side, a kind of consensus of community interest. But that was more internally directed in terms of building an agenda for Jewish social and human services and culture and education, but it was not about the political side of the spectrum. So we've never really had that. So we don't have the models that were traditional to Europe. And one will have to measure whether that's going to ultimately be a dilemma or problem for American Jews, but it just hasn't really evolved. No one could ever say that JCPA speaks that voice, and no one surely can say that the Conference of Presidents even tries, because it does address itself to some very singular points, but not beyond that. On your other question, yes, American Jews are very charitable, but a lot of that, in fact, increasingly that charity is not Jewishly directed. And that is another whole topic for another discussion, and we can come back to that. It's a very interesting pattern. And we are in the midst of the largest transfer of wealth in American Jewish life from one generation to another that has ever occurred. And it's not true or unique only to American Jews. It's what's happening in American society is the baby boomers and those that preceded the baby boom generation move into retirement or leave their legacies and estates. We are seeing this transition of wealth, an incredible amount of wealth, estimated at $40 billion easily. Maybe some have given the figure $75 billion. And where that will go in terms of how it will be distributed in the context of children, grandchildren, or whether it will be distributed into charitable causes. What you're seeing, of course, in the growth of Family Foundation itself is an incredible story of the move outside the organized Jewish community to create sort of alternative voices for community expression, both Jewishly and non-Jewishly, from everyone from Spielberg to Steinhardt to Bronfman, etc. And all of that tells another story about this incredible transitioning of the community. Because what has happened is, instead of centralization, you have increased pluralization of American Jewish life in many ways.